Hello, welcome. We're going to stitch the garden mouse today. So we're going to start with the carrot. You have like these extra little templates. And what you're going to do is, if you want, you can cut them out and then put them on the felt and then trace the felt and then cut the felt. Or you could just kind of fake it like I did here. I just kind of, luckily it's a very simple shape, right? So, let's see. I'm just gonna fake it on this one here. So let's see, that's definitely way too tall. Something like this, maybe. Oh, and if you are doing that tracing, I just use like a Sharpie on the felt because I don't know any other pen that actually shows up. It's a little thick still, huh? Luckily, you don't have to make it exact because all carrots are different, right? Maybe something like that. Now I've made a mess. All right. And you can even make more if you want. You can make it extremely 3D if you're into that. You can also put some felt on this one. So you'll want to attach the small one first. I'm not going to demonstrate that because it's going to look the same as this. But I do want to have this on for when I demonstrate the stitching. So you can use any color. I just happen to have a single strand of this orange hanging out. If you need to, it's pretty small, but if you need to like put a pin in it to keep it still, I'm just going to use my fingers. And I'm just going to come up like really close here to the edge of the felt and just go back down really close here. So just teeny tiny baby tacking stitches. I'm going to go around the perimeter. It feels like staples, like little miniature orange staples. But I'm not sure anyone else is gonna feel that way. I've been a little bit intimidated to start this video. So if you're feeling a little intimidated to start this project, you are not alone. There's a lot going on, and see, I don't know where the stitch went that was right here. Let's put him back. All right, so we're gonna go all the way around, do this to the entire carrot here. I'm gonna stop there because there's nothing different that's gonna happen. We're gonna start with the darker of the oranges, and we're just gonna do satin stitch over here. I usually like to start kind of, not at the ends, but somewhere in the center. I'm probably just gonna do this part of the carrot. Excuse me. So we're just covering up this felt. Excuse me. I have allergies coming back already. So keep nice, gentle tension on this. I'm sorry that the felt is green. I have so much green felt in my life, so that's what's going out in the kids, and that's what I've been using for my projects. Luckily, we're gonna cover it, so it doesn't matter. And I'm sure you've seen a carrot. They have those kind of like ridges on them, so I'm not worried about making this satin stitch like super smooth because carrots have texture. So the like submerged carrot. Again, if you would like, you can do it just like this. You can just cut a little piece of felt there. Alternatively, you can just use more of your orange and outline and fill the shape. The fastest way to bulk up a shape would be to use chain stitch, I think. So you can do an outline and then chain stitch fill. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of go back because I can see I have some gaps here. I don't want to use too tight of a tension because I don't want to like make it like full-on dent in the padding, right? I want to keep, we can have texture, but we don't want to squish. I'm going to also combine the felt and just padding with stitches, if you like. Okay, I feel like that's enough. Nothing else will change. So then we're going to take the lighter color. You have 3 strands here. I don't really think it matters how many strands you use for this. I mean, maybe it does. I don't know. I'm a little wishy-washy on that, huh? All right, so I'm going to kind of pierce from below and come up. And then I'm going to follow the same stitch direction and go back down at the top. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you want to call these split stitches? I guess you should. I think I called them straight stitches in the instructions. So, my apologies. So, if you can, notice where I'm coming up here. See how I'm in between 2 stitches of that darker orange? What happens is it's kind of splitting them like apart and making a hole. What you want to try to do is come up through a single stitch of the 6 strands. Do you see the difference there? So that's what you want to aim for. Oops. Oh, I can see I pulled that. So I guess that's a good moment to look at that. So I just like yanked my needle. I got like tangled up on myself basically. And that last stitch I did got like kind of like vacuumed in here. So I'm going to try to retrieve it, recover it, move it back up if I can. You can see how it's like really tight right there. And it's squishing the previous stitches. So we want to avoid that. Keep it nice and loose and relaxed. It's cool. It's like this color is blending in really well, and it's not making like too much texture. I think it's okay if it makes texture, but it really seems to be kind of blending in there well. So you can add as many of these highlights as you like to lighten up your carrots. So for this carrot, the lightning is going to be the light is going to be here. For this carrot, I did it on the right side. So I think 3 strands is good. If you want, you could do fewer strands so that these won't look as chunky. Like, remember those chunky hair highlights? If you want something more subtle, you can definitely use fewer strands. If you end up, I don't know if you noticed here, I kind of have like a little split. well, now it's kind of gone. Let's see. I'm talking about right here. That happened when I added this stitch. You can always see if you can cover it. If it doesn't work, you can go back in and use the darker color. Just kind of go back and forth. Or, honestly, it might be best to just pull it out. I don't know. You could go either way with that. Sometimes it's good to pull out. Sometimes it's good to just keep going. But sometimes we can create more messes. Okay. So, let's take a look at this in comparison. And you can see, like, all that texture mine has. And I don't mind it. I mean, that's like what a carrot looks like, so I'm not worried about it. Okay. Stem time. So we have these little stems. We're gonna do a whipped back stitch here. Well, I'm starting with a non-back stitch. So this is a full 6 of the lightest green. The tops of the carrots are done the same as each other. Okay, there's the back, and then I'll start over here to do the whipping. You can whip in either direction. I'm right-handed, so for me it feels best to do it like that. Whip. And back down. And we'll do this one. So with this whipping, we're not piercing the fabric, we're just weaving under each of those back stitches. All right, so you can do that a total of 4 times. And then at the base here, you know, let's imagine there's 4 of these instead of just 2. We're gonna just add a little bit of satin stitch on top of them so that they all kind of combine. Something like that. And then I have 3 strands of the medium green that I'm going to add a little bit of a split stitch shadow outline on the, for this one it's on the bottom side. I'm going to do a back split stitch just because it's easier for me to do. You could use fewer strands if you don't like the bulkiness of this outline. So yeah, so in this one it's on the bottom side. For the other one it's the left side, since we're doing the highlight on the carrot on the right side. All right, there's that shadow, and then we can add a little bit here as well on this side. And if you want to get a little fancy, you can add like one right here. Okay. And I'm gonna move on to, let's see, we're gonna start doing our leaves. Alright, so I've got that medium green I'm going to start with. I'm just going to trim some of these threads that I'm done with so I don't make a complete mess. I mean, there's still a chance I'll make a complete mess. Okay, so the template's like got these lines like this or something. Excuse me. So these are kind of, they're guidelines. They're going to get covered. It's kind of up to you what you want the shape to be, right? However, like wide and tall, and if you want like weird stuff, I mean, you can get, I would go look at pictures of like carrots with their tops on, and or just look at the ones I've created. So when I made mine, I didn't know what I was doing. I was making it up as I went. 'Cause I'm trying to decide if it makes more sense to start from the top and work down, which I'm thinking it does make more sense to do that. So I'm going to start, we'll do like something like that and that. And we'll start with this lightest color. So I'm already underneath, which is fine. Okay. Trying to decide how much of this, I don't want to actually fill in this whole thing because we'll be here all day. Maybe I will just come over here. So we're going to do our little loops. And I did not cut my loops, so I paid attention to how long they are. They're not all identical, but I tried to make them somewhat consistent. So I like to hold down the loop like I was just showing. And then I come up the base and go down on the other side of the base like so. And what that does is it kind of pushes the loop, right? So it's going to lay down sort of kind of flat versus if I come straight up, like basically we're going to be making back stitches, is what I call it. It feels weird doing this color first. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So from here, I feel like, so there, when you do turkey work, there's like a structure to it, but when I do it, I don't always stick with the structure. So that's why I'm kind of all over the place here. Okay, so I'm going to do it like regular here, just so you can see it with this color. So if you want, you can start from underneath or you can start from the top. If you start from the top, you're going to have the tail, right? Which is fine. Like my sample hoop, you'll see there's some tails that are sticking out. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I'm going to make my loop. I'm trying to go on this line here that's rapidly disappearing. So my loops will be bloop, 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 right? So I want the loop to be kind of here, but I don't want to come up there. So I'm actually going to kind of go away and then come down next to here. It's not the same hole. They're just like friends. Okay. And then I'll do my back stitch here. Like that. And then I'll start my next loop here. So again, I'm just demonstrating this to kind of show you the pattern or rhythm of like a turkey work in a straight line. And I'm sure if you go online, you'll see other people do it differently. So here's another back stitch. And then I'll do another loopy loop. I think if you actually do make them exactly straight on a line like this, they might look too artificial for our purposes. But again, just demonstrating. Back stitch. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to this lighter color so we can be back up here again. So they can be individual. So here we did like a line, but you can make them like kind of independent of each other. So here I'll just make another loopy loop and then just tack this loopy loop. And I feel like, so you can have it tacking both bottoms of the loop, but if you just do one, like that, that also works, see? So, like same here, where this one's only got the tack here. It's okay. Sometimes I even have some that aren't tacked, but like I'll just have like a wild loop on its own, but the loop made before and after it are tacked down, so. Well, it's up to you how close you want these all to be together. And how much of each color you want to use. So this will clearly take some time. Actually, so this one I'll just do a row. So I'll just hold on to that loop while I make this loop, and then I'll tack the two of them right here. So yeah, so this is going to take some time. You can see. Excuse me. I'm making these possibly too close together. We don't really need them that close. So let me make a row here and see what that looks like. I feel like that's probably too far. Although I suppose you could always just like fill in that space just with some split stitches or something so the fabric isn't showing through. But if you want to cut down on how many turkey work loops you are making. So that those were big and too far away. So again, there's some trial and error when I made mine. Because I kept making them bigger and bigger, so I didn't start at the tops, because at first I thought the tops would be just down here, and so I just kind of kept expanding. And you'll see like here there's like a gap, right, because it's supposed to be like a separate branch, so they don't have to be totally solid. Like here's, you can see where mine kind of branch out, but when you messy them up, you kind of don't see that anymore. And then so I think, yeah, on the template there's like the end of the tail, but I ended up just covering mine with more. Oh no, I was having way too much fun apparently with all this turkey work. So continue to fill. Once you get, you know, here and here, this is where we're going to have some of the darker greens. And so then on this one, we have like the lighter colors up here, and then the darker color down here, but most of it is that middle color. A good amount of the lighter color too, if you like. I think there's a full skein of each of the these two colors in the kit, so So careful not to use too much of this and run out. But I think a full skein should be good. Awesome. So that's how you make a carrot. That's fun, huh? Let's talk about the dirt before we get much further. So when I made my sample hoop, I had no intention of creating dirt. It's like, why would anyone want to fill in all of this space? If you would like, if you're using like a PDF and you don't want to do all this dirt, you could always get some brown fabric and just add it here. So you stitch the design on half of the main fabric and half of this brown fabric. Save you a little time. Or what else do people do? Sometimes people use paint. If you do paint, you probably want to do paint before you stitch. So yeah, so I didn't add any dirt until after I'd stitched everything, which was obviously a little bit of a pain, like especially like, oh yeah, let's make little stitches in here and right in these little spots and going right up to the mouse. And so you might want to do that split stitch dirt first and fill in all the spaces, or do what I did and do it later. So for the kind of thicker dirt, I'm using a total of 6 strands, but we have 3 strands of one of the browns and 3 of the other on this needle here. And we're just going to do some French knots. We'll just do them over here, I guess. So these will be like the biggest mounds of dirt. So I'll do a single wrap just for demonstration purposes here. So we're going to wrap around our needle one time, and then we're going to place our needle near where we just came up, slide that wrap to the surface of the fabric, and then pull down. You'll hear that pop, means you're good, and then you pull that slack like so, and you make a French knot. If you do 2 wraps, it's going to be a little bit harder to pull through here, but you can see our knot is a little larger. Other ways to make kind of more textured knots would be, can we just ignore that thread there's popped up here? I can't ignore it. So you can kind of make them looser. Like that. I don't know what happened here. It kind of absorbed that other knot. So that was a single knot, but I just kind of kept it loose the whole time. I have a hard time doing that like consistently. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that, really. The dirt isn't indicated on the template, so it's up to you how far you want to fill it and where you want those clumps to be. Like I just put them basically where I would expect it if I was hanging out with this mouse. So from there, there's also, oh, that's for the split stitch. So for the teeny tiny French knots, I have 1 strand of each of those browns on this needle to make these little baby French knots. Very super, super tiny. So that was 1 wrap. 2 wraps. Like so. And then for this, if you need to help yourself with like some parallel guidelines, So this is just 2 strands of that more subtle brown. Make sure you're not using the browns that are for the mouse. Oh, this was a back split stitch, but this is just all filled in with split stitch. And you're free to fill it in solid, or you can do like what I did where it kind of fades out. Take a look at the picture and do what you like. Okay, I probably don't need to show much more of that, huh? When I did it, I didn't really start at one end and work to another. I just kind of filled it in as needed, where needed. So, so here's like those clumps with the 6 strands, and there's clumps with the 2 strands near it. And then I did make my split stitches, and you can see here, obviously these ones aren't touching each other, so those are just straight stitches. And for some of it, then I would add the tiny French knots on top to kind of just add more texture. It's just texture. So, have fun. Do what makes sense. All right. So, oh, I'm stretching. Okay. Oh, I needed that. This is where you should get up and stretch. So I don't know. I don't really want to show the shovel. Sorry. I don't use a script, did you know? So, because I'm not sure there's anything new to learn there, but I'm trying to look. I think I'm gonna go have a cup of coffee and then come back